2, 1. It's Saturday, February 21st, 2026, recorded live from the English Valley's History Center. Here's Jackie.
Hi, my name is Jackie Geringer McDermott. This diary was written by Libby Wade. She was my dad's great aunt, and her full name was Mary Elizabeth Claypool Wade. She is 75 years old in 1950. Here is a picture of Lib with her great-granddaughter Barbara Wade. September 29th, 1950. Bert's birthday, 1874, and also the date of his death, 1939, just 65 years old. Albert Otis Wade, or Bert Wade, was Lib's husband. I have never seen a picture of him. This is a cloudy, dark day. Has rained some, but not much. Cleared later. Evelyn and Emma, Bob's wife, came over for grapes. Evelyn took a box full and picked some for me. It's the first time I've ever met the other lady. She is very nice. We're married recently. Kathy was along. Evelyn Kurtz was Lib's married granddaughter. And Emma Kurtz was her sister-in-law, and she was married to John Robert, or Bob Kurtz. And Kathy Kurtz is Evelyn's young daughter, who was 2 years old in 1950. Lena came down, and Jenny was here too. Lena Wade and Jenny Wade are Lib's daughters-in-law. Mary R. and Mrs. Lacey stopped on the way from town. Mary Regseger is a neighbor who lives a block east on Oak Street, and here's a picture of her in the top right corner with her late husband, Fred Regseger. And Mrs. Lacey is probably Mrs. Alta Lacey, who lived down on East Clark Street. They were likely walking to town. Ruth Bursler stopped in the evening to tell me about Hattie. She was on the operating table at 8 this morning and was there until after 11. Had the uterus removed, and she did not know what all. Was still under the anesthetic partly when they left. Aunt Jenny got a room and is to stay a few days. Rosa Secor was with Ruth. I suppose she took her. Ruth Bursler was a sister to Lib's friend Hattie Killian, and here's Hattie Killian, who was battling cancer. Their maiden name was Newberry, and their Aunt Jenny Harper was married to their mother's brother, Clyde Harper. Clyde has passed away, and Jenny is able to be here and stay with Hattie during this terrible time. Jenny Harper is in the back on the left side of this picture. Rosa Secor was friends with all these women, as they had all originated in Millersburg. Rosa was able to drive and lived at 305 East Washington, or Smoky Row, in this house where she still lived when I was a little kid. I got a card from Hattie, written Wednesday p.m. Russell went to Cedar Rapids this p.m. and was late getting home. Russell Wade is Lib's youngest son, and she lives in his house with him. Maud came up and spent the evening. There is a football game here tonight. Westchester plays North English. Mrs. Bolts was here today, too. We listened to part of the Iowa-California football game. Iowa won 43-14, I believe they said. Maud Claypool was married to Ray Claypool, Lib's nephew, the son of her brother Verner Claypool. Elizabeth, or Lizzie Geiger Bolts, is Lib's 89-year-old neighbor who visits often. They listen to the football game on the radio. September 30th, 1950, Brother John's birthday, 1871. John 4C Claypool was next older than Lib and died of tetanus after a horrible farm accident in 1913. Also, it is Bert Claypool's birthday today, 1881. Bert Claypool was the son of Lib's cousin Wallace Claypool. Bert was a brother to Millard Claypool and Clarence Claypool. He is third from the right in the back row of this picture and is wearing a hat. It is nice and mild this morning. I have grape juice to can. I let it drip last night. I heard that C. Brown got into trouble, had Hester's truck in Minneapolis for a load of machinery, got a drink and mixed with the officers, wrote a check, etc. All too bad if true. I sent a card to Bert. I wonder if he'll be surprised that I remembered his birthday. I think that Aunt Lib was like my Grandma Bertha. She probably had a book with birthdays in it. I talked to Bertha. She will come in and get some grapes. It is a lovely day, not cold. Bertha Geringer was my grandmother and Lib's niece. Received a letter from Anna. Everett is pretty bad off, is able to be around, has the use of only one lung, and his hip didn't work right. He has aged a lot. Even his voice has changed. Anna Cray is Lib's only daughter, who lives in Texas with her husband, Richard Cray, and their 3 boys. Everett Curl is her uncle, and Lib's brother-in-law from Texas, who was very badly injured in a vehicle accident. Jenny was up, burned my papers and trash. Dr. Miller is over at Minnie's. JB was there about 9 o'clock, perhaps a new arrival. I heard later a boy. Minnie Zilmer lives across the street from Lib, and where Lib has a good line of sight to see who is coming and going. Minnie takes care of patients in her home. Dr. L.A. Miller, or Old Doc as we later call him, arrives to deliver babies and care for the sick. Colonel J.B. Miller, North English class of 1941, served in World War II and Korea, and in between the wars he had polio and recovered after extensive therapy. He was married to Myrna Kolosik at this time in his life, and the baby born to them this week was James David Miller. And that baby, David Miller, is seen in this picture in the back, holding his screaming cousin, Robin Kolosik. John and Bertha came and got some grapes. Picked some for me, too. Stella came and brought a load of home-baked bread starter. Then, that should be brought a loaf of home-baked bread starter. Can't read my own typing. Then Molly and Flossie and Barbara were here a while. Flossie is working at the seed corn plant in Marengo. Someone is moving furniture past here this p.m. I wonder if it is Gloria. John and Bertha Geringer were my grandparents, who came to help Lib with her grapes and get some for themselves, too. Stella Wallace is a neighbor and a friend, and the mother of Lib's daughter-in-law, Lena Wallace Wade. Molly Claypool was married to Millard Claypool, whose grandfather, Wallace Claypool, was Lib's cousin. Flossie Claypool West is Millard and Molly's daughter. She had been married to Winter West and has a school-age daughter named Barbara. They are now living with Molly and Millard on their farm at Yankee Point. Gloria Agnew, who was moving furniture past Lib's house, was 33 years old and the wife of Emmett Agnew, whose mother, Minnie Agnew, lived just east of Lib on Oak Street. Gloria was a waitress at the Maidright Cafe uptown. October 1st, 1950. Warm and nice here. Pretty cloudy. Rain and snow in the West Rockies. Perhaps it will be here soon. Russell and Virgil went to Skunk this morning, maybe their last trip for the season. Virgil Hahn is Russell's fishing buddy, and they were going to the Skunk River to fish. Mrs. Bolts was in. She went to church. Frida came, wanted some medicine. She is having the stomach ache now. Walter and Jenny are putting down the rug on the new floor. Frida Wade is married to Lib's grandson, Walter or Bud Wade, and they live around the corner from Lib. They are getting new flooring. Jenny is helping her son Walter put down the new rug. Jenny is the mother in this picture, and Walter or Bud Wade is behind his father in this picture. Ruth Bursler called. She had talked to her brother John, and they had been down to see Hattie. She was sitting up a few minutes at a time yesterday, so she must be getting along fairly well. I washed my hair. The water softener has helped our water wonderfully. Lib really likes the softened water from the new city water softener. I heard that Benton Claypools are celebrating their golden wedding today, with a family dinner today and an open house in the p.m. I would go if I could, but I guess I can't. Bert and Minnie Claypool are the couple in the back center of this picture. And here's the story about their 50th anniversary that was in the newspaper that week. I sat on the porch a while. Mr. Weimer went by, walks terribly feeble. He fell on the walk down east of us. Lowell went down and helped him up and across the street. Then he said he could go on alone. Fortunately, he was not hurt. I thought he might be. Ernie Weimer is the man on the right in this picture. He was the father of Maggie Wade and her siblings. Lowell Churchill was the neighbor across the street. And he's in the center of this picture, the man with the white and gray beard and his feet pointed outward. This picture is from the 1954 centennial taken at the Christian church. Sadie Wetherill is the woman in the black hat beside the men. This picture was in her collection that was just donated to the History Center by her grandson Larry McCarter. The others in this picture need to be identified. Russell and Virgil came home about 5. Russell had 2 catfish, one 6.5 pounds and the other small. Virgil none. Russell took part of the big one to Mildred. I wrote Anna's letter. Mildred Reese was Russell's girlfriend who lives in the country west of town with her parents, and she's on the left side of this picture with her brothers. October 2nd, 1950. Cloudy and raining a little. Lots of snow in Montana and Colorado. The temperature was as low as 12 degrees below, reported there. Colder here tomorrow, predicted. It's 68 degrees now at 8 a.m. I canned 2 jars of grapes and cooked some for jelly and jam. Cooked the fish for dinner. It rained again at noon. In the p.m., I called Ethel to come do some things I wanted done. She took some of the flowers to the cellar, potted some for in the house, and did some work upstairs, and also carried fruit to the cellar. Went uptown and bought a new padlock for the cellar door. Was here about an hour. Ethel McCarter was in her 30s, and her husband works for Lib's son, Wayne or Perky Wade. Ethel does odd jobs for Lib that Lib is no longer able to do. Got our milk bill, $6.92 for September. Art Carter owned the local dairy and delivered milk to the homes in North English. Ethel said Gloria moved into rooms at Clifford Cox's. Pierre Huffman's moved into Agnew's house yesterday. Mrs. Volz came up. I gave her some fish. She said Bert, Vesper, and Clifford were down to see Mrs. Swope yesterday p.m. Bert Claypool was the grandson of Lib's Uncle William Claypool. Vesper Claypool Huff and Clifford Claypool were two of his children. Mrs. Laura Swope was a very elderly neighbor who was Lib's first teacher. She was 99 years old in 1950. I received a card from Jenny Harper. She is at Iowa City and wrote for Hattie. Hattie is suffering with gas, but I think she is getting along fairly well. I wrote to her tonight. And that's the end of the diary portion for this week. The English Valleys History Center has been operating on Main Street in North English since 2006. The center operates a museum, monthly programming, a community coffee shop, and provides meeting spaces for groups and organizations. These include family and class reunions, celebrations, gatherings, and club meetings. The History Center offers all of its services by donations only. It does not have annual memberships like many other historical organizations and relies largely on private and community donations. It is a 501c3 nonprofit organization and donations are tax deductible. Your support of the History Center would help continue its operations and provide a valuable community asset. Please send donations to the English Valleys History Center, P.O. Box 70, North English, Iowa 52316. The History Center has received this beautiful acquisition. This came from Tony Hull from Gibson. It is an ice cream cup with Souvenir of North English written on it. It came from the estate of her in-laws, Dr. Spencer Hull and his wife Maxine Hull of Keswick. And here's the inscription along the bottom of it. It says Souvenir of North English. This is a reminder that the next alumni luncheon group will meet at the Main Street Pub and Grub in North English on March 23rd at 11:30 a.m. Please contact Linda Holden Carter or Alice Floring Stramer for reservations when the time approaches. And here is another reminder about the party at the Main Street Pub and Grub next Saturday to raise money for the Knoll Ridge Swimming Pool. If you would like to donate, please send money to P.O. Box 114, North English, Iowa 52316. And here is a list of programs that will be featured at the History Center in 2026. For more information, you could join the English Valleys History Center Facebook page or do a pause on this screen if you're watching on YouTube. The North English Fun Day celebration will be held on the weekend of July 25th, and we will once again be hosting a day at the History Center after the parade. Please plan to attend, as we would love to see you. The class of 1971 will be having a gathering in town that weekend, as will the class of 1976. Our biggest group at the History Center last year was from the class of 1975, who are also having their 50th reunion that same day. It is a good way to get to see friends from other years and to see the History Center. And here is the information that Dan Stroman posted for the class of 1971 reunion. The class of 1971 reunion, Saturday, July 25th from 4 to 6 p.m. at the North English Fire Station. For more information, contact Dan Stroman. His number is on the EV Graduates page. Correspondence. Mark Claypool from Sigourney said, "Congrats on another successful week." Pam Kavanaugh Shield from Cedar Rapids said, "Enjoyed your broadcast today, Jackie. You do so well at sharing the stories. Thank you." Alice Flooring Stramer of Watkins said, "Lots of memories. Thanks for the great work you do in reconnecting the folks of North English to our ancestors. You did a great job on researching about Jim Flooring in your diary presentation. Jim would come and visit, and he'd spend hours at the History Center. He'd mention Dave Jackson and how he'd visit about Hankletown. I think Jim was obsessed about the past, as he was always searching for those years long ago. Celia and I visited his grave after our last EV alumni gathering. Marilee and John were with us, and we visited the grave of her parents too. I remember my dad saying the three Flooring siblings lived with my grandparents, and they were fed donuts and chocolate milk and foods to fatten up the kids. Joyce Clemmig's mother, Madge, was really close to Jim Flooring and his brother and sister. I was visiting Mom in Arizona, and we all went to the casino with Madge, and Jim Flooring met us there. He bought all of our breakfasts. Today's feature story is on Lib's birth family, her brother Benton Claypool's family. We have shown this picture of Lib's birth family taken in 1894 before we showed it one other time. Lib is in the center between her parents, and she is their youngest child. Her sister-in-law, Rosa Carter Claypool, is holding baby Otis Claypool, and Rosa's husband, Arthur Benton, or Benton Claypool, is standing behind Rosa. Their son, Jonathan, or Jonty, is between Lib and her mother, Anne Mariah Hinkle Claypool. Their two daughters, Louise Long and Bertha Geringer, were not yet born. And here's another picture of Lib's family. This is the entire Jonathan and Anne Mariah Claypool family taken in front of their house at Yankee Point in 1907. This farm was just east of the Yankee Point Cemetery, and it's the farm where Barb and Ron Baines live now. By 1907, Lib Wade has 4 children, and she is standing behind her dad, holding her baby, Russell. Her daughter Anna is sitting on her dad's lap in front of her. Lib's boys, Warren and Wayne, are in the front row on the right side. Lib's brother, John Claypool, is on the other side of the pole from Lib, and beside him in the hat is her brother Benton Claypool and then his wife Rosa. Benton and Rosa's daughter Louise is in the back row in a light-colored dress, and her brother Otis Claypool is in front of Benton. And for those of you wondering, my grandma Bertha Geringer is the young girl in a dress on the inside of the pole, and her brother Jonty is standing behind her. Rosa and Benton Claypool died in 1930 and 1932, just as the Depression was starting, right after my dad, John Francis Geringer, was born. Benton was a farmer and a banker in Parnell, and the Depression was hard on families in those times. His wife, Rosa Carter, was educated at Valparaiso College in Indiana and was a teacher before she married. Benton Claypool has at least 4 descendants named for him. My uncle, James Benton, or Doc Geringer, my brother, Louis Benton Geringer, my cousin, Benton Roy Geringer, or Ben Geringer, and Dad's cousin, Dr. Louis Benton Claypool. I came across some stories written by Louise's daughter, Marion Long Wade. And here's a picture of Marion Wade. Marion was my dad's first cousin, and being 10 years older than my dad, she did remember Benton and Rosa Claypool, her grandparents. And there's a picture of Francis Wade and Marion Long when they were married, and then later at their 50th. Marion remembered the home of her grandparents, Benton and Rosa Claypool. This house stood on the farm west of the Yankee Point Cemetery and was still there when I was a child and owned then by Merton and Molly Hinder. According to Marion Wade, the house did show some signs of ingenuity that abounded in those days. Wind pumped the water to a storage tank up to the top of the hill and then to the house. The house had running water, drains, and a water cooler in the basement. She said the house possibly had Delco lights. Marion clipped pictures from a catalog of some kinds of things and furniture that they had in the house. Here are examples of things she remembered from the upstairs in Rosa Claypool's library, such as a stereoscope and a clock and a coffee mill. And here is a day bed and a kitchen cabinet and a range, along with an organ like an aunt had in her home. And here are butter churns, a sweeper, an old-fashioned washing machine, and skates. And finally, scales, a stove, a radio, and a sideboard like Marion remembered in my great-grandparents' home. Our listener, Mary Diane Wade, or Mary Wade as she is known now, has an unusual spelling to her first name, Mary. It is M-E-R-I. Marion is Marion Wade's daughter. In Marion's words, Mary, your name has a reason, a history really. You were named for your mother, both grandmothers, and Elizabeth or Lib Wade, my mother's aunt. Aunt Lib, as we called her, was really like a grandmother to me. My grandmother, Claypool, had died when I was only 10 years old, and Grandmother Long died before I was born. Aunt Lib had been at our house when most of my brothers and sisters were born, and when my mother was so very ill with pneumonia. As you know, your dad's mother was named Margaret Elizabeth Weimer Wade. My mother's name was Mary Louise Claypool Long. So you have M for Marion, and Mary, and Margaret or Maggie. E for Elizabeth, two of them. So we named you Mary, M-E-R-I. And the Diane is for my sister Anna. Maybe that doesn't make sense today, but it did then. And here is a picture of baby Mary Wade and her grandmother, the other grandmother on the other side of the family, Maggie Wade. We will have a few more stories from Marion Wade next time. Our sympathies to the family of Ruth Hoppy. She was Sweet Sue the Clown in the North English parades. Her maiden name was Ruth Wright, and she was in the class of 1966. We are also interested in learning about historical English Valley's items that you may wish to donate to the History Center. Please contact Dave Jackson, Scott Romine, or any board member to donate. Thank you, and we'll see you next week.